Hi, my name is Brian Farr, and I'm the lead sound designer on the world of Warcraft. Sound design is very crucial in all games. The main thing that we always try to accomplish is an epic sound, but not too epic and not too light. And it's very hard to explain. There's a very fine line between a cinematic and a video game. We're dealing with repetition and things being played over and over, so we have to create sounds that all together in one blend as an epic sound. So in the world, we've added close to 80 different ambience loops. By having a large variety of ambience, we've been able to give each zone its own realistic feel. Creating the ambience for Lordaeron, we wanted to bring back the fall of King Tyrannus during the Act 3 cinematic from Warcraft 3. The goal was to achieve a haunting experience from where the return of Arthas led to the doom of the kingdom. So as you enter the gates through Lordaeron, you could first see this giant bell laying on the ground, so we wanted to bring in the sound of these corrupt bells ringing in the distance, very ghostly sounding. And coming through the halls, we have the crowd in here where you can hear them chanting in the distance and slowly turning into like zombies. And we wanted to scare the listener as much as possible to give that haunting feel of when he returned home. Entering the gates, you come through the doors into the chamber. You can stand in here for a while and you'll start to hear actual pieces from the cinematics in the original Warcraft 3 series. You can hear everything up to when Arthas slain his own father, and these ghosts are moving around. So with ambience, we were able to bring this back, and that's one of the many things we were able to do. Within this world, we have close to 80 different ambience loops, and that's a lot of ambience if you really think about it. We tried our best to bring ambience into every zone that looked different, and each thing, of course, is broken down between a night and day ambience. Dungeons as well, any of the major dungeons with portals into different areas, we tried our best to give them their own vibe and their own eerie feel. Or if you're in Elwyn Forest, we tried to bring birds into it and make it seem happy and enchanted. And if you go into a dark area, we wanted to bring as many dark things into that as we possibly can get, from owls or pitching things way down low to make them sound scary. Since this game is so massive and so many things go on at one time, we have to make sure that each creature has its own set of really cool sounds. So creating monsters is a very big challenge. We try to strive for anything that we can get from the designers. First off, where do they come from? What is their purpose in the world? What do they eat? What do they breathe? Where do they sleep? Where would they be? What can we do to make this creature come to life? So we start a layering process. Usually we have an actor come in, or one of us from the sound team, and we start grunting into the microphone and creating these creatures, such as like a bog beast. We took elements of mud. We took scrunching of a sponge to create a wet sound underneath it, and then under that like a moaning, groaning sound. And then we layer these things together to create all the monsters that you see in WoW. And we have close to over 100 different sound sets for these monsters. Each monster has 9 to 12 different sounds. So if you add that up, that's a lot of different sounds to it. We do our best to try to keep things from being repetitive. So it's a challenge to us to create these monsters, to keep them from sounding the same, since players are going to sit there and fight these creatures over and over. And I think we've really had a lot of success. I'm going to demonstrate for you the layering process of how it sounds before we process a creature, and this is the death of the dragon. It's going to start off with the actual recording of the actor, and then it's going to go into the final processing, and then all the layers together. So you'll hear 7 layers unprocessed and 7 layers processed to the final sound of the dragon death. In combat, it's broken down into weapons, spells, and unarmed attacks. We also have biting sounds for creatures such as wolves and dragons, and then each weapon has its own unique sound. Also, if you put on chainmail or plate mail, if a monster hits you with that axe or a sword, your actual sound of your impact that you get changes as well. You'll hear the chains ringing off your armor or the plate, you'll hear it thud. And if you're not wearing armor at all or leather, it's more of a, heavy sound hitting flesh. So we have all these different sounds combined that create this really cool feel of the game when you're playing in battle. Also, we've given bows not only just your pullback sound and the impact, but when you shoot your arrow off, you can hear the actual whiz of the sound go right past your ears. This works alongside also spells. Everything in a game that moves, in combat that you use, such as a throwing axe or anything, they all have sounds while in midair. So you'll hear an axe fly right by you using a Doppler effect. Also, based on the type of armor you're wearing, you can hear the armor actually moving as you run or walk or whatever. Leather has more of like a scrunching sound when you run, and then also you can hear the chains on your armor ringing as you jog along the road or whatever. It's a really cool effect. I think it brings in a lot of realism. Also, footsteps. We've gone so far with footsteps. I mean, if you're a small character in the game or a small creature, you'll hear their footsteps being lighter on grass or dirt or stone or snow. And if you're a medium to large character, such as a night elf or a tauren, you'll hear a different, weight of footsteps on the ground as well. And then this goes all the way up to like a Kodo beast or a dragon. They all have their own footsteps. It also applies to wings. If you hear a bird flapping, their wings are going to be a different weight. You'll hear, your griffin that you're riding on the back of, it's going to have giant wing flaps. And then if you're standing next to a more like a vulture type creature, it's not going to have as heavy flaps. It's going to be these light flaps. Things such as crabs, little crabs that walk on the sand, you'll hear different footsteps. Anything that is different in the game with different textures, we've tried to give it completely different footsteps as well. Also, if your character dies, you fall over, you hit the ground, it's going to make the sound of the grass. It's going to make the sound of the dirt, whatever you fall on. And that's also based on the weight of the creature, such as small, medium, or a dragon falling. And this is created, once again, another realistic feel during combat. Doodads in the game, doodads is what we call basically game objects, such as a fire or a door that opens or a lever that you pull in the game. We've added sounds to all of these, and there's thousands of things with sounds active currently in the game. And we've tried to, anything that moves in the game, to give it some sort of sound. So when you run by it or near it, or you pull this lever, or you use this book and this scroll, anything in the game we've added sound to. And nowadays in games, you can do so much more, and we're trying to push this game over the top to being one of the best sounding games out there.